Welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge waiver wire show for week 14 of the NFL season. Some of y'all are in some weird leagues like me. We got the playoffs starting this week. Luckily, I didn't draft anybody from, the Ravens or something that I'd be relying on heavily in the first round of the playoffs. It's a two matchup game, but still, what a stupid idea. But hey, can't fix stupid sometimes. So that is the way of my league. I hope that your leagues are built a little bit different these days. With that said, in this video, we will be going just reviewing the injuries from this week, and you can see up on the screen right now if you want to look at some of the more major injuries and what the likelihood of these guys returning is. I give you an idea of that in this estimated injury time column. You can see a lot of guys could be coming back this week, so that's good. Not good. A couple of season-ending injuries: Christian McCaffrey, Taysom Hill. Other than that, Trevor Lawrence going to be out at least a week. We're going to take that plus out. We'll see. Could be the rest of the season. It just depends on what the team's going to want to do with this situation. They have less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs, so they're going to have to figure things out. Dallas Goedert going to miss at least a week, probably. Rashad Bateman, Ladd McConkey, knee injuries. I'm not too high up on exactly how severe those are, if they'll be causing them to miss further time or not. Calvin Austin, I didn't see a verification on it being a concussion, but a head injury, which would, if it's a concussion, at least 1 week there. So, other than that, I do want to remind you, I'm going to go through this video quite briefly, just as an overview, just as a supplement, in case you can't make it. But if you can make it, tomorrow evening, or actually this evening, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until at least like 9 p.m., and then if it's busy, go later, I will be live for any of your roster questions. We'll phrase it that way. Waiver wire questions, just roster decisions that you're having to make this time of the year, starting to look at playoffs, and trying to plan ahead with our rosters. I'm here for you to help make some of those decisions, to help give you bounce some ideas back and forth with one another. So, I think, once again, thank you. We went over 1,000 just recently. I don't know if I didn't do any videos last week, so I don't know if we did any videos since then, so appreciate that very, very much. We're on the road to 1,500 next, so that is freaking awesome. And with that, let's just look at the quarterback options that we have this week. It's not that it's a super reliable bunch, but it's still pretty deep out there in terms of quarterbacks on waiver wires and your options. Hopefully, maybe you've already planned ahead for the playoffs. You might have one of these guys. You might have, your two already prepared. But if you are in need of something, Russell Wilson coming off of a great week, going up against another great opponent. Philadelphia, not so great. Baltimore, tough opponent. Caleb Williams, he's shown out. He's been doing pretty well, even in some tougher matchups. Got Minnesota in a couple of weeks, so that's very good. Detroit there. Cooper Rush has a couple of really good matchups in Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Carolina. Who knows for sure? Most likely that would look something like the Thanksgiving game, where Rico Dowdle's the one that goes off and not Cooper Rush. Will Levis going up against Jacksonville. Coming into this week, at least, they were the number one matchup for quarterbacks. Cincinnati, you just saw what Pittsburgh did to them. Indianapolis after that, nothing, too much to be afraid of there against Indianapolis. So these are some of the guys, especially two quarterback leagues, deeper leagues, that you might be having to go about. And if you're planning ahead, whatever the case, you want to hold on to somebody else, you don't like who you have. I think that these are some decent names in the short term, and really all that's left is the short term. Going to bring us down to the running backs, where, of course, we have the cream of the crop this week for the fantasy, the number one fantasy option on pretty much probably anybody's board. And then we've got Kimani Vidal. Gus Edwards did not impress. I did not expect him to, so I'm not too crazy high up on this, but if you want a stash, I think Kimani's a good stash. But if you're also in need of players that are going to play, Alexander Madison, Sincere, McCormick, it's going to depend the matchup on which one of these guys I like. Alexander Madison, decent chance that he'll come back this week. If he doesn't, it'll be the following week. If he doesn't this week, it's more so, what's his name's game. But let's pretend he's coming back this week. That's probably how I'll project it. Sincere McCormick, if they're in a game where they could win, where we expect them to maybe hold on to some sort of lead, or just a Carolina type of defense, we want to play Sincere McCormick. If they're going up against, Kansas City, for instance, we'd probably rather not play Sincere McCormick. He was probably going to have a dull week. and we'll go with the better option. But he looked really good last week, so there is some sort of baseline there for Sincere McCormick. And it's a similar idea here with Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez. If we are expecting Washington to blow a team away, Chris Rodriguez would be the guy who will get some more workload, as we saw. But if they're working from behind, having to push the ball up the field in 4-minute types of situations, in a hurried way, and they're just going into these, more pass-heavy game plan, Jeremy McNichols would be the guy in those game plans as the backup there with Austin Eckler out. So it depends on the matchups, once again, for some of these guys, expecting Austin Eckler to maybe be out for more than 1 week. That's why I didn't just want to highlight looking at this week. Let's move on to the wide receivers. A little bit of a spoiler alert there. Devon Vela here, my number 1 wide receiver. It's a little bit tough here, but so he's obviously going to have a bye week, but I do believe in what's happening. This, of course, depends on what's happened tonight. By the way, tonight has not happened. Tonight being Monday night, so Monday Night Football hasn't happened. That could change things, and if it does change anything majorly, I will put that down in the comments. But for now, Devon Vela has really been coming on as a reliable option, not super high-end or anything like that, but with Indianapolis and Cincinnati coming up as 2 of the final 3 matchups on the fantasy season, I like that. And then Parker Washington, Tennessee, New York Jets, Las Vegas, Tennessee again. If you're looking for something in the short term, something with somebody with some decent matchups, maybe nothing super smashed up here, but still, I'd prefer go Parker Washington and Adam Thielen this week. Adam Thielen going up against Philadelphia. So that's kind of why I have him ahead of Thielen, however, Dallas, Arizona, Tampa Bay after that. So that's a smash lineup after this week. I don't want to play him against Philadelphia, but Jalen Coker is expected to return. That was, Adam Thielen came in, take the Coker role. Coker then, I guess, got injured. I don't know what happened there. He's coming back. I don't know how they're going to work that around with things. You would think that they want to get the young guy some work again, the promising young rookie in Coker, but also you would think that you want to continue the Bryce Young development, which the wily vet and Adam Thielen definitely, I'm sure, is a little bit more reliable than Coker is in terms of just being quarterback friendly. So I don't know how they're going to work that out, and that could kill Adam Thielen's fantasy value, ultimately go from 8 targets to 4 targets. A lot harder to succeed on a weekly basis. Nick Westbrook, Akina, MVS, Alec Pierce, this tier of guys, if you want to take a shot on them, go right ahead. The production is very unreliable, but, they keep doing it, so they'll be ranked semi-accordingly now. I can't ignore it, I suppose, any longer. That would seem a little bit foolish, but also chasing it feels foolish, so I'd rather not. We'll see with the rankings. Cedric Tillman, I just want to look ahead here because in the short term we're not using him, but weeks 16 and 17, especially week 16 there, could be an absolute stud. Get you into your championship, and then you can decide if you want to play him against Miami. Miami's kind of a sneaky good defense against receivers, but we'll see if that holds true up until that point or not. But Cincinnati week 16 should be a smash matchup for Cedric Tillman. That'll bring us on to the tight ends. It's an easy one here. Juwan Johnson's the only tight end that I'm going to highlight this week. With the injury to Taysom Hill, I do think with the other lack of talent on this roster, Juwan Johnson could be in line for quite a few targets and a larger game. So there's that, but there are plenty of stream-worthy options, and I mean plenty of them. So don't be... that's basically why I'm not putting them on the waiver wire, because I don't want you going and spending resources to get them, because if you don't get one, well, you know what? The next one might do better anyways. There's no guarantee with the tight ends. And then DST is not a great week for DSTs. Miami Dolphins against the New York Jets is going to be my number 1 streaming option, and New Orleans against the New York Giants is going to be my number 2 streaming option. But I do want to point out, if you're looking ahead to weeks 16 and 17 for Buffalo Bills, things look pretty nice there. You got New England and the New York Jets for the final 2 weeks of the fantasy season. That's your championship game and the semi-championship game. So might be worth holding on to them or going and finding them. They dipped below 50% ownership in ESPN leagues, which was the mark that we went with for this list. So if somebody's missing, assume that, but they're on your waiver wire. There's a chance that they would have been on the top of this list. However, they weren't, because they didn't meet my the thresholds that I have for this video. Thank you very, very much. Take care. Once again, I go live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday night. So come check us out if you want some more personalized advice and to look over some things for your fantasy playoffs as they're just around the corner. All right, let's win this week and then playoffs, baby.